Daniel Lawton, the man, the myth, the legend. Yeah! What's up, Yins guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fishing PA with Ryan Reed. In this episode, Dan and I travel back up to New York State to fish beautiful Lake Chautauqua. Now we're back up in New York for New York's walleye opener that opens tomorrow, Saturday, May 5th. We were able to travel up to Lake Chautauqua today, May 4th, but we ran into some things that we didn't initially plan on. Number one being a major storm front in the Chautauqua area, which involves heavy thunderstorms and wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. So we've been dealing with major whitecaps on the lake, and we haven't been able to get out and actually do some fishing yet. So we got here around noon. It's currently 6:30 p.m. We're gonna wait this thing out and see if we can't get on the lake after 8 o'clock tonight. Regardless of that, my goal with this episode is to show you guys techniques, lure selection, and just general how-tos on how to fish walleye on Lake Chautauqua. Now I'm super pumped to get back to my roots of walleye fishing, and hopefully we can get a few walleye on camera and give you guys some beneficial information that will help you check out Lake Chautauqua and also learn something new about walleye fishing. So I'm super pumped to get on the water. Hopefully we can get out fishing soon. Looking forward to it. Wow, look at that sunset. Well, we finally made it on the water. 8:15, 8:19 p.m. Wait, oh, ready to go. I'm pumped up, Dan. Pumped up? Cold. Woo! So the object for tonight is to essentially troll grandmas, rapalas, thunder sticks, any type of stick bait in shallow water, because the walleyes that are deeper are kind of moving into the shallows, chasing bait fish and perch and so on and so forth. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to continue to troll these stick baits and see what happens. We've been 15 minutes. 15 minutes of trolling. That catfish right there. It's not a bad one.
No, not at all.
Not a bad catfish. Hopefully you can see that. It's getting dark. Looks like a walleye.
Small one.
Yeah. Can we get a picture of you? Nice one.
Ouch. Didn't get skunked.
Boom, baby. Didn't get skunked tonight.
15 and a quarter.
There you go. That's a nice one. Real nice one.
Yeah, he's a keeper, 19 and a half.
19. We gotta get a picture. Come on. Oh.
Another big walleye.
You want me to net it?
Yeah, you can. You don't have to put the bag down, like just
Okay.
there you go. That's a hog.
Yeah, that's a hog, all right.
Oh, that's a
Oh
that's
my
a beautiful
goodness,
walleye.
Dan.
Beautiful walleye there,
That's
baby.
the biggest walleye I've seen for sure in a while. Look at oh, mama, that's a big boy. I'm gonna put the net down. Oh, holy cow. You got, we're gonna measure, that is a hog. That's a hog. We're gonna get a couple pictures. That's on a, that's a nice one. Let me see. What is that, your fifth fish?
Yeah, man.
Look at that. Alright guys, so it's officially Saturday, May 5th, here at Camp Pendergrast near Chautauqua Lake. So Dan and I were out on the boat until about 3 o'clock this morning. We were able to fish from 9 p.m. until 3 a.m. The primary method that we used to target these fish was a combination of really just stick baits. So the whole goal in fishing Lake Chautauqua early season for walleye is basically to use Rapala F11 series original floaters in a variety of colors. Also the Thunder Sticks or the Junior Thunder Sticks. The Grandma's baits seemed to work okay last night. So the 4.5 inch Grandma's. So any type of stick bait or crankbait that's going to be in that type of a series seems to be the ticket up here in Lake Chautauqua. Now the key though is water depth, and the reason for that has to do with the way these fish are living in this lake and how they move up from deeper water at night to essentially feed. So what we noticed, or what I noticed last night, Dan has been a veteran of this. Dan has been fishing this lake for many, many years. He has a full understanding of the lake and he knows spots on a spot on a spot. So as we're trolling the lake, you know, we're keeping ourselves in the shallow water, because the walleye during the day are typically in, you know, 8 to 12 to 15 feet of water, and what they're doing is they're moving off of that first shelf into shallower water, which we seem to stay in about 3 to 5 feet of water last night. So we did all right. Just to recap on the night, I ended up with one walleye that was 17 inches. I put that one back in the lake because it wasn't quite midnight yet, and I ended up with 2 brute catfish that I snagged on my baits as we were trolling. So I was fortunate enough to catch those. Dan had a pretty decent night. He caught 5 walleye, 4 of which were keepers. One that was 27 or 28 inches, and then another one that was 24. So overall, pretty good night for our first night, even though we had to deal with some pretty terrible weather. So the name of the game today is going to be perch and crappie, and we're going to do a little bit of trolling for walleye as well. So again, with the stick baits, the Rapala F11 series, multiple colors, and Grandma's, and those types of Thunder Sticks. I did try some hot and tots, didn't do real well on them, but those are the types of baits that we're focused on trolling at, you know, 1.5 miles per hour. So hopefully this gives you some information about Lake Chautauqua, and hopefully we can use the same technique today to catch some more fish. Wow, he's a hog. Now out here trolling Lake Chautauqua, it's important that you do certain things to be successful. One of which is continuously sharpen your hooks. Regardless if you're using a lure like that or like that, it's important to always keep your hook sharp, because your lure can hit logs, rocks, gravel bottoms, or just from weeds, or general wear and tear from switching them out when they're clanking off of your rods. So to increase your hookup ratio, always make sure you sharpen your hooks. So the technical conversation with trolling, you always want your deepest lure the front rod.
Yes.
So if I have this lure, and I know it's the deeper of the two, it's got to be on the left.
Yeah, well, because if you think about it, if the deep lure was back here and your shallow's up there, chances are when it comes back, it's going to catch your deep line, because it's running higher in the water column.
Which is definitely what's been happening.
Right,
so.
and I never knew that until I listened to Greg Thomas.
Yeah.
He said you always run your deepest lures in the front of your set. And then I got to thinking, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it definitely.
He runs sometimes 7, 8 rods. He says his shallow lures are in the back and his deeper ones are in the front. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
Wait, I don't know that I got the art. Look at all those fish. That's, wow. It's a walleye.
Little walleye, 4-inch grandma.
There you go.
Loving life.
What are we, 12 feet of water?
Yeah.
So this always goes to show you, when you're out fishing, you got to make sure you check your line for abrasions like that, or else you could potentially lose a $20 lure. Yeah, it's got to be a bass. It is. Tell me he just got off. Nope. Yeah, nice. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Get over here, you pig. Yeah. Yeah. On a wacky worm. Dad. Look at that, on a wacky worm. Nice hog there. To make a long story short, we got the wacky rig and we got a big old largemouth.
One more. 20.
20. Let me see. Nice. Yeah.
How many is it?
5th walleye of the evening. This one's probably about 15. Ah. Very nice. Fish number 7. I just want to talk a little bit about trolling and the technique of trolling from a technical standpoint. One of the things I had an issue with over the past couple of days was trolling the smaller Rapala R11s. I brought a lot of heavier equipment with me. A lot of my rods and reel combos are longer rod and reel combos. You know, the C4s and the C3s and the Corvaluses.
Wow.
However, that's not conducive to trolling smaller baits. And the issue that I had the first night that we were here was that the rod and reel combo I was using was actually hindering the action of the lure. So I wasn't feeling the action, it was kind of flatlining, and I wasn't getting the amount of fish that Dan was hooking up with the first night we were here. So the other thing was I was short lining, you know, as opposed to letting the lure hang out there. And with the Rapala R11s, you know, they're only going to go 1 to 2 feet. So they're going to stay higher in the water column, as where a grandma is going to run a little deeper. So a combination of letting more line out, you know, 35 plus feet with an R11, which is the right lure combination to keep it higher in the water column, as those fish are moving, as those walleye are moving deeper to shallow, you know, at night. In addition to that, using the correct rod and reel combo, that Silver Max allowed that bait to work properly in the water, and that actually produced more fish for me. So from a technical standpoint, when you're trolling, it's important that you're using the right gear, number one. You're matching your rod and reel combos with the actual lure that you're trolling, and you have to understand the lure depths and the ranges in the water column that lure is going to run in order to allow the appropriate amount of line out there in order to catch more fish. Now, this experience was awesome. I was really stoked to come out here with Dan. You can see him back there. Stoked to be here with Dan and do some trolling for walleye on Lake Chautauqua. So out here on Lake Chautauqua, I think we ended up with 22 walleye. I think Dan had 13 for the trip, and I ended up with 9 for the trip. Also caught a really decent largemouth bass. Dan caught a smallmouth today, which he was pumped about. You're pumped about your smallmouth.
What?
So, you did say how much you wanted to catch a bass on this trip.
Yeah, I was so excited about it.
Look at that little smallie. That's the catch of the week right there. Catch of the weekend. You're pumped about your smallmouth?
Oh yeah, ecstatic.
And also caught some catfish, which was interesting. So Lake Chautauqua produced a wide variety of fish, a lot of perch, a lot of crappie, large and smallmouth bass, catfish, and of course some decent walleye. The biggest one that we caught was 27 inches. Dan brought that one in. The biggest one I got was 19 inches, 20 inches. But I had a few that were 16, 17, 18, 19 inch range. We caught a lot of smaller ones, you know, 14, 15 inch range. We don't like to keep them that small. So all in all though, we got into a couple of schools of walleye, and it was a lot of fun. We had some fish miss as well. One other thing I wanted to note is that we actually spotted some muskie at night with the flashlight. just kind of swimming right by the boat. So that was a really awesome experience to see, you know, some of the larger muskie in this lake, just kind of swimming along the boat at night. So all in all, Lake Chautauqua, thumbs up. I just want to talk about the campground that we stayed at real quick, Camp Pendergrast. It was actually, the cabins were about $75 a night, which was pretty reasonable for two of us to come out here. The cabins were clean, they had electricity. Awesome experience. I really like Camp Pendergrast, and I would definitely stay there again. So I think if you guys are looking for a place to stay, check out Camp Pendergrast. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about based off of what happened on this trip. So last night we were trolling for walleye. Dan hooked into a walleye that was probably about 27, 28 inches and had a little bit of an issue boat side. And the, the issue was that he went to take the hook off and the walleye thrashed, and Dan got a handful of hook and the fish got away. So basically, what we wanted to talk about was the fact that you should never be a hero when you're fishing for walleye, pike, muskie. Always take your Lindy fish glove or whatever type of fish glove that you have. Make sure you bring these with you on the trip. See, he's got his now. Because what happened when you get hooked in the finger, ultimately what he had to do was take that hook and push it through, which made a loud, it was like, it did not sound good. And then you have to cut the hook, and then you got a bloody mess on your hand, and it's just not good. So word of advice, when you're fishing for toothy critters, just fish in general really, always take your fish handler glove with you on the trip and make sure you wear it. You agree?
I totally agree.
Totally in agreement.
Totally.